Hi everyone. If you follow my channel, then you know that I love frogs. I think one thing that anyone can agree on is that frogs are some of the most beautiful and fascinating creatures on the planet. And with their big eyes, expressive faces, and funny behaviors, they're just adorable. One of the most commonly kept pet frogs are the American green tree frog. Maybe you've seen them in your local pet shop and thought about keeping one as a pet. So today I'm going to go over what I think are some of the best and the worst things about keeping American green tree frogs. And I'm going to start with the best things first. One of the best things about keeping American green tree frogs is that they're beautiful to watch in their vivarium. Green tree frogs can vary in color from a vivid green to yellows and browns, and their colors can lighten and darken depending on their mood and the temperature. They can also be distinguished by the white line that runs along the side of their chins. One thing I love about the green tree frog's color is their eyes. Their irises are a beautiful metallic gold. And they are nocturnal and spend most of the daytime sleeping, but they are surprisingly active at night. I sometimes get up in the middle of the night just to watch them and get more of a sense of their nocturnal behavior. The second best thing is that you can make them a beautiful home, a beautiful bioactive planted vivarium that can be a little slice of nature in your own home. If you've never kept an animal in a bioactive terrarium before, there is a little bit of a learning curve for how to set that up and maintain it. But for an amphibian that lives in the trees and needs a high level of humidity in its environment, I think a bioactive terrarium is the most healthy way to keep them. And by creating something that more closely replicates their natural environment, you can get more of a sense of how these frogs live and behave in that natural environment. And number 3 on my list of best things about American green tree frogs is that they can be cohabitated in groups. And I think they actually thrive better in groups. I don't think I'd go as far as to say they make friends, but I have noticed that certain ones will pick a tank mate and possibly bond with it. Two of my females are just like that. Wherever one goes, the other one goes too. And if you have any males in the group, you can sometimes hear them calling. This group I have used to be 4 with 3 females and a male, but sadly my male passed away and I miss hearing his calls. One of these days I might add a couple more males into this group. And the fourth best thing about American green tree frogs is that they are inexpensive to buy, usually from $5 to $10 a piece. Although this could also be a con because most of the green tree frogs you find in pet stores, just like the green anoles, are going to be wild caught. Although I found them to be pretty hardy and acclimate well to captivity more than many other wild-caught reptiles and amphibians. And did I mention they are adorable and full of personality? But as much as I love having these frogs, they do have their downsides. So let's talk about the worst things about keeping these green tree frogs. For one thing, you can't handle them. Frogs are amphibians, and amphibians have permeable skin that they use to take in water as well as oxygen. But that also means they can absorb anything they come into contact with, including oils from your skin or anything that might be on your hands. I don't handle frogs unless I have to, like taking them out of the enclosure for cleaning. Because they are so cute, you might feel like you want to handle them and make friends with them, but my experience has been that frogs are not animals that can be socialized, and handling them is just something that they don't like. So they're pretty much a watch but don't touch pet. The second worst thing about keeping green tree frogs is that although the frog itself is inexpensive, the terrarium they need and its setup isn't. The cost of an appropriate arboreal terrarium, the lights, the substrate, and the plants, that all adds up to be a fairly expensive home for such an inexpensive frog. And the third worst thing about keeping green tree frogs is that these particular frogs are more messy than any other frogs I've ever kept. They poop everywhere and they poop a lot. A good bioactive cleanup crew helps, but isopods and springtails don't usually go on the leaves or the glass, which is where these frogs usually poop. This vivarium has some snails and millipedes that hitchhiked on the moss and plants, and they actually do a lot to clean the poop off the leaves, and they do a good job of eating any leftover crickets. And the frogs sometimes make a tasty snack of the snails. Another one of the worst things about keeping green tree frogs is that they are jumpy and will jump far, and this makes maintenance in the vivarium a challenge. If I ever really need to do a lot of work in the vivarium, like a deeper cleaning or trimming plants, I sometimes have to remove the frogs from the terrarium entirely, which can be a bit of a challenge. The fifth worst thing about keeping green tree frogs is that they require constant care and maintenance. Keeping a high level of humidity by misting at least once or twice a day, keeping a temperature between 75 to 80 degrees, but no higher than that, maintaining a bioactive vivarium and keeping the plants alive, and feeder insects every 3 or 4 days. And these things can't be neglected. If I ever leave on a vacation, I have to recruit and train someone to take care of them for me while I'm not here. So if you've been thinking about keeping a green tree frog, those are, for me, some of the best and worst things about them. Although there are some downsides to them, it's a labor of love, and I think the best things far outweigh the worst things. So that's all I have for today. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave me a comment below. And I'll see you in the next video.